Donald Trump has gone on his Truth Social platform. We have a deal for hostages in the Middle East. They will be released shortly. Thank you. The BBC also reporting a deal between Israel and Hamas has been agreed. It's a complex deal. It involves the release of 30-odd hostages over a period of 6-7 weeks and many more Palestinians being released from jail and various other security guarantees and ceasefires and so on. All multi-layered, complex. Has to be seen whether, A, this is official, which it looks like it may be in the next day or two, and secondly, if it's workable and if it actually gets carried out. But what is your gut reaction to the sort of overall deal that is apparently in play here?
You know, I've been on your show for the past 15 months, Piers, and you and I have talked about what's been happening. I think initially, October, you know, you and I agreed that what Hamas did was a terrorism attack. It was atrocious. Israel had a right to respond. But you and I have also seen the devastation of the past 15 months. The Lancet just came out with this is peer-reviewed study that said actually the casualties might be 40% more, Piers. So right now we know that 45,000 Palestinians have been killed. That could be up to 65,000, 70,000. We know Israel has bombed churches. I know Michael cares a lot about churches right now, but I'm curious to see if he's okay with Israel bombing churches, mosques. It has killed UN workers. It has killed journalists. It has not allowed journalists insight to look at the damage. It has actually killed refugees. It has bombed refugee camps. It has bombed UN workers. More children have been killed in the past 2 years in Gaza than all the war zones combined in the past 2 years, right? Right now, we know that the majority of the people that have been killed have been women, children, and the elderly, civilians. So in this particular case, we've heard this before in the summer, right? There was a deal. What's the best deal? Ceasefire, hostages. There are about 100 Israeli hostages who are still captured by Hamas. I talked to a father of an Israeli hostage, Yehuda Cohen, who blames Netanyahu for the current situation. He says that Netanyahu's to blame for being belligerent, for advancing this war, for rejecting the ceasefire deal when it was in place, right, in the summer. It was President Biden. Remember that, Pierce? I was on your show. President Biden came out and said, hey, this is Israel's deal. Let's do it. And they keep slow walking it because they have an expansionist view. They want everything from the river to the sea. I hope this time, Pierce, and I said this before on your show.
Why is David Rubin laughing? I'm sorry. So this is a video that just came out today, Piers Morgan's show, basically their reaction to the Israel, Gaza, Palestine ceasefire deal. And Wajahat destroyed everyone on this panel, but I'm sorry, this episode just really got me pissed off at Dave Rubin. I've watched videos of Dave Rubin before. It was okay. But in this video in particular, it really pissed me off to see how pro-Israel he is and how biased and arrogant he is. So right now you hear him laughing because Wajahat Ali said, oh, river to the sea. And he's laughing because he thinks Palestinians say that. When in reality, it's actually the Israelis that say that. River to the sea is actually their definition of greater Israel or Judeo-Samaria, whatever it's called.
Whether it's Trump who does it, whether it's Biden who does it, the war has to end. Ceasefire deal for the hostages. Bring the hostages home, do a ceasefire deal, end this bombing, end this pain, end this suffering. A genocide, according to Amnesty International, a genocide, according to Human Rights Watch, a genocide, according to Israeli scholars of genocide who've been saying it for a while. This particular situation where both Hamas leaders and Netanyahu are war criminals, according to the ICC, end this once and for all. If it happens, then maybe, just maybe, there could be some peace. You need rebuilding humanitarian aid in Gaza. You need the Gazans who've been displaced to come back to the north. You need the hostages to be released. So if it can happen, Piers, I don't care if it's Trump who does it. I don't care if it's in the last week of Biden. Has to be done.
Okay.
So my reaction to the deal is if you actually look at the details of the deal, it's pretty much the same exact deal that was put out in May 2024, which makes me wonder, why didn't Israel accept it before? Why wasn't Biden administration pressuring them before? Why is it that not until Trump's administration and his envoy joined the Middle East, that's when Israel finally accepts it? So we had what? May to January, that's like 7 months of additional killing that should not have happened? That's my first reaction. I'm pissed off at that.
I mean, Michael, it seems to me that all the heavy lifting has been done in the last few days by Trump and his Middle East envoy, and that's really speeded things up. Also, I think Trump's saying, if this isn't resolved by my inauguration, there's going to be hell. And I suspect Hamas have taken him at his word. We never quite explained what that hell would entail, but they clearly, I think, have been racing to try and do a deal that they were maybe procrastinating over. But your response to Wajahat, what do you feel about this deal?
Well, I think every person of goodwill agrees with Wajahat on the minor point, or on the narrow point, rather, that we want to see an end to the war. Probably not with some of his claims about the war, but we want to see an end to the war. That includes Jews, that includes Muslims, that includes Christians. As Wajahat mentioned, ancient churches, churches that have existed in the Holy Land long before Islam ever existed, have been.
We lost Michael. We'll bring in Dave. Let's bring in Dave as his running mate. Dave, we'll bring you in here because we lost Michael Knowles there.
God probably intervened in that one.
That was a great comment by Wajahat. Very, very witty, quick on his feet. So Michael Knowles, something that we all need to know about him is that he works for the Daily Wire. Guess who runs the Daily Wire? Ben Shapiro, probably one of the biggest Jewish activists, Zionist activists in the country. Most well-known guy. So is it a surprise that Michael Knowles is going to be super, super pro-Israel? No, not really. And you know, it's shocking that a lot of these conservatives that proclaim to be America first are not America first when it comes to Israel. They're Israel first, especially Dave Rubin. I'm not sure what he is. Is he Christian? Is he Jewish? I'm not sure, but man, he looks awfully, awfully Zionist. That's the unfortunate part.
On the Crusades, but I think I can handle the rest of it. Look, everyone wants an end to the war, and the war could have been over on October 8th. All they had to do was release all of the hostages, and no one.
Lie number one, this is so not true. Israel made it very, very clear that even when they were saying that they would give back the hostages, they are not going to stop the war. Their excuse was that Hamas killed so many of our people. We are going to make sure it's well known. We're going to destroy Gaza. That's exactly what they ended up doing. They killed thousands of people, up to 70,000 people, some reports say now. And if you think that they were just going to stop it as soon as they got the hostages, you're out of your mind. You're living under a rock. And you are fooled by the media, basically, because that's not true. They said it. They were very clear about that.
Would have been supporting any sort of military action, right? That's obvious and real, and we all know it. Hamas has intentionally placed civilians in the way. We all know that as well. There is no genocide. I would love to hear any panelists call for Egypt to open up the border and let.
Why does Egypt have to open up their border?
All the Gazans in, but no Arab country, no Muslim country wants any of the Palestinians. They're never.
It's not that they don't want them. They've taken several over the years, several. And the fact of the matter is, that's their home. Why do they have to leave their home and go to those countries? It makes no sense.
There was a Palestinian state, and if there was, tell me who the prime minister was. This is just an endless assault on Israel. There's not going to be peace.
So if there was no Palestinian state, what was there before Israel was made in, I don't know, 1947 or 48, whatever that year was? What was there before that?
In any real way. There's no such thing as the two-state solution. There never were two states. Palestine used to be the place that the Jews lived. A lot of Jews just celebrated Hanukkah. You know where Hanukkah took place? The Judean Hills, which we now unfortunately call the West Bank.
Unfortunately, this guy is so arrogant. And also, okay, he's just naming some random event that some type of relationship that Jewish people have to the land of Israel. So do Muslims. So do Christians. Big whoop. What are you saying?
But that's because the Jews lived there. So this is largely, we can get into the, okay, they're going to, give away 30 hostages, or they're going to get one hostage back for 30 Palestinians who have blood on their hands or anything else. That tells you right there who actually values life here. So look, it'll be nice to get back some people, and hopefully Americans. As an American, I do hope that the 5 or 6 Americans who have been held will return. But I'm not bullish on peace or anything else at the moment.
Julie, what do you feel about this? I mean, it's obviously an extraordinary.
Okay, so I just looked it up. Dave Rubin is Jewish. That makes sense. Grew up in a secular Jewish household in Long Island, according to Google.
Extraordinarily complex situation. I don't think there'll be any clean way out of this for many years. But do you feel that this deal, which they're talking about, is at least a step in the right direction?
Yeah, you're absolutely right that it's too complex to lend itself to short sound bites. It's a deal, right? And it's a deal. I'm happy for the families whose loved ones are being released. But I think Dave did touch on something. I don't agree with a lot of what he said, but he did touch on something, which is I don't know what the end solution to this is. Because you had Ariel Sharon give Gaza effectively give the land that Gaza is, the Gazan land right now, to the Palestinians. And in an election, they elected Hamas after a short period of time. And so what do you do if you're Israeli when you have that kind of threat on your border? It's not to excuse what the Israelis are doing in the West Bank right now. It's absolutely atrocious. And I say that as somebody who has a lot of family in Israel, and I don't support it. I'm fully for the two-state solution, but it has to be two states where one of those states is not run by a terrorist organization like Hamas.
No, it doesn't have to be a two-state solution, though. There's no reason for anyone to think there should be a two-state solution. They can go to Jordan. They can go to Egypt. Gaza was part.
Again, why do they have to go to Jordan or Egypt?
Of Egypt, remember? West Bank was part of Jordan. Judea and Samaria was part of Jordan.
Why would they have to go to Jordan and Egypt when they've been living on this land for generations? I mean, the reality is,
well, if they're being
us,
genocided and all of the other things that the other panelists said right there, they might want to look into that.
Wait a minute. So if they're being genocided, is the solution that they need to get out and go to different countries, or is the solution that the genocide needs to end? Dave Rubin, you are very foolish here. You're very ignorant, stupid, arrogant, all these different words. And, quite frankly, you're a conservative in the U.S. What would you do if someone kicked you out of your house? Aren't conservatives big on Pro 2A and, protect your house and all of that? What would you do if someone kicked you out of your house? Would you just happily go to Canada or something? This guy is pissing me off. And I've watched his videos before. I didn't think he was that bad before, but this video, I'm sorry, Dave Rubin, you've lost it for me here.
You might want to if any of that is true.
There's
one place in the Middle East where Jews and Christians and Muslims live peacefully. It's Israel.
Here we go.
Ironically.
Piers, I have a solution.
But listen, have you been to Israel recently? Let me just say this. Let's be very clear, okay? Okay, so let's be very clear. There are places in Israel where they live peacefully, and there are places in Israel where settlers are not allowing Muslims to live peacefully. So let's not put this all on just the Muslim population.
Where are the Muslims allowing the Jews
Israel
to
and the
live?
West Bank?
He just asked, where are Muslims allowing Jewish people to live in peace? He does realize that most Jews choose to live in Israel and America, right? And there are Jewish populations in countries like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar. There's a large expat population there. Also, countries like Iraq has a huge Jewish population, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know what Dave Rubin's talking about. And historically, Muslims and Jews, they've lived together peacefully throughout the years. It's only until the existence of Israel when that kind of stopped happening.
Peacefully. Where are the Muslims allowing the Jews to live peacefully? I walked around in Jerusalem where you can walk around with Orthodox Jews walking next to women in burqas. Where are the Muslims allowing the Jews or the Christians to live peacefully? Ask the Coptic Christians.
You're so stupid. How about majority of the Middle East?
Listen.
How many Jews are left in Morocco? Any Jews in Jordan these days? We could go through all the countries.
I'm not going to.
Israeli government has actually ever tried. Israeli governments, whether they're Labour or Likud, have never tried ending the occupation in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, and in Gaza. What they haven't done is end the settlement.
There's no occupation, really? So Gaza, West Bank, does Israel not control all of the borders there?
The settlements have actually expanded
the British mandate
in the West Bank.
And then
right
all the
now,
Arab
in the West Bank, Hamas is not under control.
They lost the war.
There's 2.5 million Palestinians who live under military law. There's about 750,000 Israelis who live under Israeli law. An unequal system. You've been there, Piers. I've been there. It's horrifying. This is why Desmond Tutu and Jimmy Carter, rest in peace, called it what? Apartheid. Their words, not mine. I've been there. I've seen it. We are complicit in it. Hamas is not in control. There's no excuse. We have Ben Gvir, the national security minister, a man who Israeli reporters told me is like, imagine if the KKK was elected as a national security minister. That's the national security minister under Netanyahu. Netanyahu has openly said, I want river to the sea. He laughed and mocked and said, aha, I have blocked the peace deal. I have blocked two-state solutions. When President Biden said end settlements, he added 3,000 more settlements. When President Biden said don't bomb Rafah,
why should Jews not be allowed to live in Judea?
Wow, why should Jews not be allowed to live in Judea? Maybe because there's other people living there? Like, since when does everyone have to follow what Jewish people believe in that area? Like, just because they believe in it, everyone else has to believe in it? What happened to freedom of religion? Like, no, there's literally people living there. That does not give Jewish people the right to live there.
Listen, don't kill civilians. He bombed the World Trade Center kitchen staff. Remember that? It is a chaos to the point where everyone in the world, except in U.S. and except in Israel, they see Israel as becoming a pariah, increasingly an extremist Jewish supremacist state. If it was up to David,
This guy's
river
another
to the
clown.
sea, let Israel do what it wants and continue the occupation. Dave said Palestinians
Israel's
don't
the size-
exist. There's
Israel
no
is the
such thing as
size of New
Palestinians.
Jersey.
So
Israel is
David,
the size
today,
of New
you
Jersey.
have
There
gone
is
on
one
the side
tiny
against
Jewish
justice
state
and
that
on the
respects
side of Pete
minorities.
Hegseth. But
How
since
many-
you're so
how
good on
many
TV,
Arab and Muslim
wait, let me
countries
finish.
are
I
there?
let
Note they
you
don't want
say
any
your hateful stuff. Let me
Palestinians.
finish.
Note that
Since you're so
Christians
good
and
on
Jews and
TV,
minorities at
based
the
on
end
your
of
own
the day don't
logic,
live
you
peacefully
should
there.
replace Mike Huckabee as the ambassador to Israel.
All right.
You're great on TV.